Gardner, the social media intern here at the Champaign County History Museum, and I'm here today with Janey. So could you give a little introduction of yourself and your role here at the museum?
Hi, I'm Janey Schmidt. I'm actually one of the practicum collection students. So I'm a graduate student and I'm working on whatever major collections that we have coming into the museum for my entire semester.
Okay, so first question, like going back to like your early childhood, do you have any like notable memories of like interacting with history or like museums like from a young age?
Yeah, I definitely remember like I spent like the stereotypical a lot of time at the library, like with my dad or whatever. But my dad is a history major, was in the military, and so he raised me interested in like military history as well. So I remember always like spending a lot of time at different military museums and at different just like events and stuff. So I definitely had an interest in history at least. Maybe I didn't know which specific topic at the time, but I always enjoyed going to different museums and seeing different things that I knew were like important, like landmarks, like when we were on vacations. But I don't think I knew that it would lead me here.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And would you say like your personal interest in history? Are they still like? Do you still like military history?
Yeah. I definitely that probably is, probably my main focus and maybe my favorite subject. But I think like as I got older, I started liking like medieval Europe a lot.
Okay.
So yeah, I enjoyed learning about that time. So that's more of like my adult interest. I feel like I've always liked military history. That's just because of my dad. So
yeah. And then, so you mentioned like in undergrad that you majored in English and like started as films. Like what like led you to the path of like now because you're in like library information science? So,
quite a flip for sure. I went to Columbia College Chicago, which I always have to say very fast, otherwise people stop me and be like, "You went to Columbia?" And I'm like, "Wrong one." So that's obviously it's an art school and it's well known for film. So I picked that because I knew it was a good school for film specifically, and because I didn't actually want to go to LA. And that essentially was what ended up turning me away from it entirely, because as the school years went on, a lot of my teachers, even though they were all working in Chicago and had lived in the Midwest for most of their lives, were still pushing the sort of like, you guys should really look to like get involved in Hollywood. And that just wasn't really what I wanted to do. And so I knew that if that was going to be the agenda that they wanted for us, that they really, really wanted us to go try to get Hollywood jobs, that I wasn't going to love that. So so I switched to English because essentially at that exact moment in time, I knew I wanted to be a librarian. And I knew that I needed the degree I'm getting now. And so I just picked what I felt would sort of complement my future in library science, and English is pretty common.
So like what made you pick like U of I specifically and like the museum? Like
okay, first of all, it's partially luck, but it's also there is like some strategy. U of I has literally the best, or I guess one of, but biasly I'm going to say the best. I'm going to say that it's the best library science school because we constantly get great awards and recognitions for it. We have the largest public university library in the country. We have they have perfected, the iSchool has perfected the MLIS degree over many, many, many years. And I've never met a teacher that had gone through the program, or anyone in museums and other places that have gone through U of I that didn't enjoy that program or feel like it really set them up for the best. It gave them the best experience going into their future careers. So I basically stumbled upon it when I was looking for library schools, and then I realized, well, it's in Illinois, and I'm from Illinois, so might as well. Why go across the country when I can just stay here? So yeah.
And then what about like your work here at the museum? Like what?
Yeah. So when the really nice thing about the MLIS program here is that we need 40 credits to graduate, but only 8 of those are required. And based on how graduate classes are, they're all credited at 2 or 4 hour credits. So you legitimately only have to take 2 required courses. And then all of a sudden you have all this freedom. And so they have have like advised pathways. If you really, really, really feel like, I want to do this, I'm going to take 6 classes that complement this. But a lot of us don't really know the vast amount of jobs that are available to us once you have a degree in information science. And so it gives us the ability to sort of pick and choose different places. And I picked a museum course, and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, I'm not surprised, but I would like to work in like more this aspect or the archival aspect of information science. And basically, it made it so that when I started looking at practicums and stuff, that I only really wanted to look at things that were involved with archives or with museums. And I found out that I could get a museum studies minor. And so basically everything just sort of fell into, all the puzzle pieces came together, and I was like, well, the Champaign County History Museum is arguably probably my best choice. And then I applied, and I was really nervous that I wasn't going to get it, and Will was like so excited that I was just like, that I was excited about the idea of getting the job. So it just worked out nicely, and I'm going to keep volunteering here afterwards. So if that says anything.
Are you going to stay this summer? Or just...
Yeah, so the project I'm currently working on, which we knew from the get-go, like I was not going to finish what I started, because it is literally hundreds of documents. So we sort of set out this semester with like, what can I finish? Let's set, realistic goals. But I'm at the point in the project now that, one, aside from me just enjoying the information and what I'm doing, I want to be able to say that I completed a collection from start to finish. And so over the summer I'll be working on sort of finishing it up and whatever else needs to be done with it.
And then, could you just like tell a little bit more about like what your responsibilities are like here at the museum?
Yeah, so the thing with like the multiple practicum students is usually there's collections that are really large and need a lot of attention. And even though Will and other people at the museum would love to have the time to give to those projects, it usually just doesn't get done. And so a lot of times we'll see things that are accessioned with a handful of artifacts, and obviously that's because we can get those done very quickly. But the ones that have hundreds of documents, hundreds if not maybe 1,000 documents, like those need a lot of time. So I got assigned the William Springer collection, which he was a Illinois House of Representatives congressman, but he was a Champaign County judge. He served in the Navy in World War II, and he was a PhD graduate from U of I. So him and his family actually lived here for a long amount of time, so that's kind of how it had a tie to Champaign. And we were basically just given all of his political documents, letters, and military records and all of that stuff, family photos and other documents just from his life. He just lived quite a life. So my job is to assess all of those objects, describe what they are for people who would want to look through our online collection or come in person and go through it. And then a lot of my time is spent scanning and altering those photos so that the digitized versions online are the best they can be.
I think that was like the first time I met you. You were like with Will trying to figure out like some picture. You were like, "Where's this?" Like, like, "Where's this?"
Yeah,
we're so like frantic. I don't know. I thought it was so cool. I was like, "Ooh, this seems so like fancy."
Yeah, we were trying to, we get pictures, and you're always grateful if you flip it over and there's nice handwriting that says Jimmy and John at the beach, 1960, and it says Myrtle Beach, and it has exactly, and you're just like, oh, thank goodness for that grandma or mom or aunt that put that together. Thank you for writing that. But so many don't, and so we're looking at pictures, and we want our online collections to have as much description as they can to be useful, and we don't want to have a lot of I don't knows as far as like the metadata goes. So it is spending a lot of time doing research and what can we figure out about the fact that they're wearing a specific uniform, or that we see this tiny little speck of a building in the background, and can we figure out where it is? So I guess those are my tasks.
And then like, what's like your favorite project you've been involved with here at the museum?
William Springer has really taken up most of my time. So I really only did I accessioned I think 2 or 3 little tiny things. And then my only other project that I did was helping with the the Julia F. Burnham Nursing, which we're going to have a small exhibit downstairs for, and I know that it's just going to get a really nice reception. So I was excited to help with that. So I helped with designing the board of the information and organizing the information that's going to be on display and selecting the objects that we're actually going to put on display and how we lay them out. So that was nice to take a break away from scanning and scanning and scanning over and over again, and getting to sort of say that I was involved in helping how to organize that exhibit. So
did you ever touch the bedpan?
I did not touch the bedpan.
Okay.
Or maybe
that's probably good.
I might have had to. I think I grabbed it from Will once, and then I ran away from it like this. And I yelled at Joe to open the bathroom door for me so that I could go in and wash my hands. So that's probably smart. Yeah.
And like, what's like one thing you'd say it's like challenged you the most, like in your work here?
I honestly think that there's a fine line between necessary and too much information, and I would love a lot of the letters in my collection are very detailed things and presidents thanking him for his involvement with XYZ when it comes to different bills and taxes and all these different things, and I would love to be able to write down like, oh, President Nixon is thanking him for this bill, and this bill meant this, and I would love to just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, but I know that that's not, one, it's not necessary, and two, it's taking up a lot extra time of mine, and I need to scan more documents. So it's I honestly think that is like the hardest part, because I know that the people that need to use that for research are going to be able to go that extra step. So I feel like it's knowing when to stop, when information is done, and we can move on.
Okay, cool. And like, where do you see yourself like moving forward? Like, could you see yourself like working in a place like this?
Yeah, so I'm getting the library science degree with a minor in museum studies. A lot of my classes have catered to that side of things. I did take a youth librarianship course and an academic librarianship course just to sort of see, you want to have a lot of options once you graduate. But I basically know that I don't want to work in sort of the front-facing library position that people sort of traditionally think of when you say, hey, I have a master's degree to be a librarian. So I think I for sure will end up working either in archives or at a museum that has the time for me to like focus on documents, because I work the best with documents. I know a lot of people like to work with like objects and big collections of artifacts, but I love documents. I like being able to figure out the stories that are coming from them. So I wouldn't be surprised if I was somewhere like this or just in an archival position.